Hello, everyone. It is so good to be here with you, whether you are live or accessing this via recording. If we have not met before, my name is Keri Marino, and I am a yoga therapist and an inner work coach. And it is absolutely my passion to help people improve their relationship with themselves through a yoga practice that includes a really expansive view of yoga, not just the physical yoga, but the mental and spiritual components as well. And also do the body and mindset based work that transforms our lives. Today, I'm going to be sharing a workshop with you that includes a gentle yoga practice. So if you do not have it already, go ahead and grab your yoga mat and roll it out. It'd also be great for you to have a blanket to sit on. And then I'm going to share a dharma talk with you that goes over 3 keys to healthy and fulfilling relationships. We're going to get started first off by tuning into our bodies and moving together. So get your yoga mat rolled out and meet me at the front of your mat in a standing position. I want to encourage you to listen to your body and to take really good care of it as we move through our practice today. So you are the boss of your body. Honor your intuition and your needs as we move throughout the class. The things that I'm sharing with you are suggestions, and you know what's going to be best for you. So modify it, adjust it, stay a little longer in poses if you want. We'll get started at the front of your mat with your feet either hip width apart or lightly touching. Bring your hands together at your heart center. Take a moment here with your eyes opened or closed to pause. And in this pause, notice every aspect of you. You have a life. You have people that are meaningful in your life. You have a home. You live on this land, in this community. You have yourself. You have your body. You have a breath inside of your body. You have your mind, your thoughts, your feelings, your past, your present, your future. And you have a spirit. And your spirit is it's your witness. It's the part of you that's noticing right now. It's the part of you that's connected to something bigger than you. Begin to connect a little more with your breath, and we're going to start to move with it. As you inhale, come into sun breathing. Take your hands down, out, and up overhead. And then as you exhale, bring your hands together in front of your heart center. As you inhale, extend your arms out to the side, slowly up high over your head. And then as you exhale, bring your hands back down in front of your heart center. Let's do a few more of those, letting your own breath set the pace of the movement. Breathe in a really soft way. You're not forcing your breath to be deep. Instead, breathe gently. Breathe slowly. One more round of sun breathing. Once your hands are together again at your heart, send your hands all the way back behind you and interweave your fingers there. Press your knuckles down, raise your heart center up, maybe lift your chin up, perhaps gaze towards the ceiling, and take a few breaths right here. Really stretching down through your knuckles and up through your sternum bone. At the tail end of your next exhale, bend your knees a lot, fold forward, lower your hands down, and then walk yourself back into plank position. So this is the top of a push-up. You can have your knees up or down. Inhale, lengthen from the crown of your head back through the heels of your feet. And as you exhale, lower yourself all the way down onto your belly, untuck your toes, wrap your elbows in towards the sides of your rib cage, and then inhale, raise your heart center forward and up any amount. As you exhale, come back down. Next, inhale, press up to your hands and knees. Shift your knees out wide like the sides of your yoga mat. Angle your big toes towards each other, and then move your hips back towards your heels into child's pose. Next, inhale, come up to your hands and knees, tuck your toes. As you exhale, lift your bottom up and back. We're coming into downward facing dog. Take a breath in here. As you exhale, walk your feet on up to the front of the mat. Space your feet a little bit wider, turn your toes out, lower your hips down into a squat. And from this squatting posture, inhale, come all the way up to stand, arms overhead. As you exhale, bring your hands together at your heart. Arrange your feet so they point forward and are hip width. Sun breathing. Inhale out to the side, up high. Exhale, hands together at your heart, then back behind you. Interweave your fingers. Inhale, raise your sternum bone up, up, up. As you exhale, bend your knees, fold forward and down. Lower your hands. Inhale, reach out through the top of your head, stretch long. As you exhale, step back, plank pose. Pause and inhale at the top of your plank pose. Slow exhale, lower yourself down to your belly for cobra. Wrap your elbows in towards your ribs. Inhale, raise your heart center forward and up. Exhale, slow transition back down. When it's time to inhale, push up, hands and knees. Child's pose, spin your knees out, your big toes in. Shift your hips back towards your heels. Inhale, back up, hands and knees. Tuck your toes. Exhale, raise your bottom up and back, down dog. Take a breath in. As you exhale, walk back up to the front of your mat. Widen your feet, toes out, heels in for squat. Go ahead and lower on down. Press your feet down strongly. Charge up the muscles of your legs to support you. And inhale, come all the way up to rise. Exhale, your hands together at your heart center. Reorient your feet, hip width apart and facing forward. And then we'll start again. We'll do one more time through. Sun breathing. Inhale, out and up. Exhale, hands together at your heart, then back behind you. As you inhale with fingers interlaced, arch up, up, up. Exhale, fold forward and down. Lower your fingertips. Inhale, reach long through your spine. As you exhale, step back into plank position. Pause for an inhale at the top. Exhale, lower. Cobra pose. Really use the strength of your back. Inhale, rise up slowly. Exhale, lower. Inhale, press up, hands and knees. Child's pose, open your knees, point your big toes in. As you exhale, sink back, hips to heels. Follow your inhale back up to hands and knees. Tuck your toes. As you exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale here. As you exhale, walk your feet up. Widen your stance, turn your toes out, heels into squat, lower down slowly. Charge up your legs, squeeze the muscles into the bones, push your feet down, and out of that sturdy base, inhale, come all the way up. Exhale your hands together at your heart center. Slowly start to step your feet back in. And we're going to bring our feet, I'm turning so you can see me better. We're going to bring our feet really close together for this next one. Roll your shoulders back and come into mountain pose with your arms alongside you. Take a moment to pause here. Reconnect with all the aspects of yourself. You have a life, you have a body, you have a mind, and you are your spirit. This relationship that we have with ourselves is everything. It is the foundation. And a lot of people spend so much of their life energy focusing on things outside of them, things in their lives, their job, their to-do list, analyzing other people. And right now, I want to encourage you to really focus on yourself. You need it. It's important. From here, place your hands together at your heart center and begin to shift your body weight onto your right leg. You're going to come up onto the toes of your left foot and then cross those toes to the outside of your right foot. You'll notice the toes are down, the heel is up. From there, reach your hands in front of you like you wanted to grab towards someone out in front of you. And then wrap your right arm over the top of your left arm. Take your right fingertips into your left palm, left thumb. Then bend your elbows so that your hands come closer to your heart center. You can stay here with your left foot grounded, or you can cross your left leg over your right and squat down into eagle pose. Garudasana. Let's breathe here, wherever we are in the pose. And really having that heightened connection to self. Self with a capital S. Inhale, slowly back up. Unravel your arms, unravel your legs, and then turn sideways on your mat like I am and step wide with your feet. Orient your toes so that they point in and your heels are turning out a little bit. Inhale, stretch up tall like a pigeon puffing up their chest. And then as you exhale, folding from your hips, hinge forward and down. Let your hands lower and your head hang heavy. You might feel like stillness. So being still, you might feel like being more fluid and maybe lunging back and forth, maybe moving your head and neck around. Let your intuition lead. Move towards stillness. Push your feet down very intentionally and squeeze up the muscles of your legs. So they're hugging the bone, they're offering you this sturdiness and support. Keep squeezing, keep pushing down, and then come all the way up to stand. Once your blood pressure has had a second to catch up with you, step your feet back in, really close together like before. Bring your hands up to prayer, shoulders back and down. reconnected with your breath if you lost it. Come up onto the toes of your right foot. Then cross your right foot over. Toes are down, heel is up. Stretch your arms out in front of you. Right hand over left. Cross, hook, bring your hands up towards your face. Maybe you stay right here. Maybe you wrap your right leg very tightly over your left. Squatting down into eagle's pose. I'll turn to the side again so you can see it. Breathe into it, slow and steady. Building a little heat. And even in the midst of this challenge, staying so connected, so present and engaged with yourself. Inhale, gently rise up, unravel. Come up towards the front of your mat, just like how we started. Bend your knees, fold forward and down. Walk your feet back and come onto your hands and your knees. So you've got your hands aligned under your shoulders. Your knees are positioned under your hips. Toes relax behind you. Sync your awareness with your breath. Inhale, soften your belly and your pelvis. Take your nose out and up. As you exhale, do the opposite. Squeeze the muscles of your pelvis. Wrap the sides of your belly towards the middle and use that momentum in your deep core to arch your back and tuck your chin. Inhale, soften pelvis, belly. Take nose out and up. As you exhale, engaging in your pelvis, wrapping the sides of your belly to the middle, tuck your chin. Inhale, soften and stretch out and up. Exhale, engage pelvis, side belly to middle, tuck your chin. One more, inhale. And exhale. Inhale, come back to a neutral spine. If you have a blanket, now is a great time to grab it and fold it up as we're going to be coming into a seated position. Place this behind you on your mat. I'm going to turn to the side so I can see you best and you can see me best. But you can sit however you like. We'll come into a simple cross-legged position. Sit more towards the front edge of your blanket. And feel free to add more if this doesn't feel like enough support. Sit well, so you've got good posture, you're lengthening your body up. Have an inhale here. And an exhale here. Next, inhale, take your arms out and up. And then as you exhale, cross your left hand over to your right knee, your right fingertips down and back behind you. You'll want to keep your spine lengthening the whole time as you gently turn and twist to your right. Perhaps ask yourself, how can I find a little more softness in my face, in my eyes, around my mouth or jaw? How can you relax a little bit more in face, eyes, mouth, or jaw? Next, inhale, slowly revolve. So you turn to face forward again. And then shift the cross of your legs. So now the opposite one is the one in front. Adjust on your seat if that feels helpful. Next, inhale, take your arms back up. Exhale, right hand across towards outer left leg. Spine stays really long, y'all. Remember that part. Left fingertips behind you. Bring the length. And as you exhale, gentle twist to your left. Where might you soften a little bit more mentally or physically? Next exhale, go ahead and turn to face forward. And then bring your feet together and your knees out wide. Feel free to hold your feet, put your hands on your legs. Some of you might like to put a hand over your heart and your belly. We're gonna, as long as it feels right to you, close our eyes here for a moment. Can keep them open if that's better, and just pause at the end of our physical movement practice. We'll end with just a little bit of pranayama, breath work. So you're noticing the natural rhythm of the breath moving in your body, the flow of it both out of you and into you. And even noticing that right before you take your next breath out or before you take your next breath in, there's this tiny little pause in between, this micro pause between the exhale and the inhale, and between your inhale and your exhale. And I want you to notice that right now. Stay with me here for a few more rounds. Curious about your breath, about your exhale and the pause, and the inhale and the pause. And gradually open up your eyes and let's sit together and chat a little bit. I'll share with you some really powerful things that I've noticed in all of my years of working with people. So I work with people in groups, I work with people one-on-one, and one-on-one, the most common thing that comes up over 15 years of me doing this is people's relationships with others, people's relationships with themselves, but also their relationship with others. And I know that relationships are totally at the heart of your life, and that so many of us are always like wanting more love, more connection, more fulfillment, more joy, more pleasure in our relationships. So I want to shine some light on 3 areas that I feel like are the most important and make the biggest difference in having the best and most fulfilling and healthy relationships we can. So the first one is our realness. And this idea of realness is basically our unwavering commitment to ourselves in our beautiful, messy complexity, to really know ourselves well, to love ourselves, to know ourselves from the inside out, to know our thoughts, our feelings, our emotions, our body, to be in tune with ourselves. We know our fears, we know our triggers, we know how to speak about our emotions. Our realness involves our like fullness of who we are and how much we know ourselves in that, how developed we are in our relationship with ourselves, how much intimacy we have with ourselves, how much inner knowing we have inside of ourselves. And this inner knowing is something that we definitely can scaffold and build and work on ourselves. And also true, relationships are the most people growing experience I know of. I was listening to Jim Gaffigan the other day, He is a stand-up comedian. If you're unfamiliar, I love comedy. And he was talking with another comedian on a podcast. And the premise of their conversation was that they were kind of afraid of their wives. And as I was listening to them talk, I just felt like I totally knew what they were talking about. They were expressing that their wives know them so well. They know their deepest vulnerabilities. They know the ways to like really get their goat. They know the ways to really love them and like encourage them and support them. They know them so well that they could hurt them so badly. And I think that this like beautiful highlight of what's going on for all of us in relationships is that when we have the realness, both with ourselves, but with another person, we create this inherent vulnerability where we let someone see the depths of who we are, our beautiful, messy complexity, our highest highs, our lowest lows, our most tender spaces, our trauma, our past, our desires, our longings. When we let somebody into that, it is inherently vulnerable, and that is scary. And I see that. That was totally their point in the podcast. And I also know that that is where so much beauty lies for us in relationships, when we are with someone where we can share the fullness of who we are, and they do not turn away, and they love and accept us, and we can receive their love and acceptance, can be such medicine for all of us, because inherent in the human journey are moments of doubt and shame and guilt and judgment. And so these relationships we have with other people can both trigger that and cause harm there, but also heal that and build this like beautiful, beautiful intimacy and connection and love. So your capacity to be real, both with yourself and with other trusted, safe people, is such an important way that we boost our relationships and we create more health and fulfillment. So ways that we could do that would be to share our tenderness with somebody else in a way that really owns it more fully and allows them to see us in that and then to support us in that. So an example of this is I was having a conversation with somebody recently, and they were talking about how they were going to go do this thing that they had anxiety around, and they were worried about going into that environment and the social anxiety that came along with it. And they were talking about how they wanted to have a wing person to come along with them, to support them, to help them feel safe, to help them step into this expansive role of going out into the community and being of service in this way. But in order to get that wing person there, it wasn't as simple as sending a text and saying, hey, would you go with me to this event? It was, hey, I'm feeling really anxious about this event, and I feel that I really need some emotional support. So would you go with me? It would mean so much to me if you would go with me and be there as an emotional support and a physical support to me, and even give me a pep talk perhaps along the way, so that I can really be who I want to be in that environment. And this highlights how realness is such a gift, because it allows us more emotional surface area to receive and to be loved, especially when we're choosing, like making specific and intelligent choices about who we let in. This can deepen our relationships so much. It can add so much value and connection to them. Another area is our ability to regulate ourselves. So I talked earlier about our realness, and part of our realness is the emotional landscape that exists inside of us. And anytime you're talking about relationships with other people, it's the holy grail of feelings and emotions coming up. It's the holy grail of triggers. You know what I'm talking about. We've all been there. So our ability to regulate ourselves is basically the fact that we can be in the midst of uncomfortable feelings and stay centered and connected, or at least curious and aware of ourselves, and the fact that we have choices. So let's think of a moment together when you were triggered. For this purpose, let's choose a moment when you were triggered and it was a little milder on the spectrum. Maybe you were in a conversation and somebody said something that just didn't land super well, but it didn't inflame you a ton. In those instances, it's a little easier to stay in a regulated state. We can observe what they said. We can observe our inner dialogue about how that didn't land well, and maybe it triggered us a bit. And we can also hold a duality that they probably meant well. We can have a generous viewpoint of what they were saying and just kind of go with the flow, let things go. That's somewhat simple. But in the midst of like really deep, close relationships, or really like high charge relationships, like with your partner or with your best friend or with your children or with people that you really, really care and value their place in your life, those kind of triggers that they can stir for us are much harder. Let's be real. They can get us so dysregulated that we've lost connection with ourselves. Our nervous system's going crazy. We're having physical responses in our body. Maybe we're sweating. Maybe we're feeling the urge to scream. Maybe we have like a lump and a shutdown. Maybe we freeze. Maybe our emotions are spinning a tale for us. Our thoughts are spiraling down a rabbit hole. Those like, those like whammy of triggers are so much harder to regulate in. And first off, I just want to normalize that. And also I want to like highlight how significant those moments are in our relationships, because all of the self-awareness work that we do in yoga and yoga therapy, and in the inner work spaces that we do, whether it's like inner work coaching or it's in a psychotherapy or a counseling environment, all of that work we do to really get to know ourselves and to work through our triggers and trauma, that's when the pedal hits the metal, is in those triggered moments with our partners. So what I see in the most fulfilling and healthy relationships is that people can have some degree of awareness that they're being triggered to that degree, and what's going on in their mind and in their body in that moment. And they can be curious. This is happening in my body, for example. Gosh, my husband said this thing, it really triggered the hell out of me. I'm just feeling this like mobilization of energy in my arms. Like I want to like squeeze something. I'm feeling angry, perhaps. Being able to notice that inside of ourselves, and then being able to be curious about that. That curiosity piece means that we're not judging ourselves. We're not just like automatically reacting to those instincts and urges and impulses inside of us. We're giving ourselves a little bit of space to pause and choose what we do with that. And this piece right here is absolutely instrumental in our relationships with people, when we can get to that place where we're making more conscious choices. And some of those conscious choices might be, I'm feeling really, really overwhelmed right now, and I need a little bit of time. I need to take a moment, like a minute, to do some breaths and to get back into myself. And I'm happy to talk with you about this later. Or physically distancing yourself from someone if it's too much, or creating other pathways for you to get back into a place of regulation so that you can more consciously navigate those experiences when you're feeling a little more at ease. It might also look like asking for support. I really need a hug right now. I really need some emotional support right now. I'm feeling super vulnerable and like maybe some tears are coming, and I just need you to tell me that it's okay. So when we have that ability to regulate, it can come from within, it can come from the people around us, but also we can't have it if we're not tuned in enough to be aware and curious about it. So I want to first off say that I know that you are already working on all of these things and that you're putting them into practice. Please celebrate your growth. It's so essential just to like give yourself a pat on the back and name, I've come so far already. I've already done so much. I'm already doing so good. And here's these like next things to really play with. And the last concept is our ability to make repairs. First off, repairs stand for our ability to acknowledge that we've done some damage in a relationship. Maybe we've spoken sharply to someone. Maybe we've neglected to do something that was important to somebody close to us. Maybe we've hurt someone with a word or action that we've taken. And our repair acknowledges right from the get-go, like, gosh, I did not act in a way that is in alignment with my highest good or how I want to be, or really valuing this person that I care about in my relationship. And I think that this first has to acknowledge that it's not your job to be perfect in relationships. We have so much like perfectionism programming in our beings that we don't even know that it's there. And so if you're expecting yourself to be a perfect mother or a perfect spouse or a perfect friend, stop. Because you will fail at that. You're already failing at that. I'm failing at that. Nobody is perfect all of the time. The measure of how good our relationships are going is not our perfection. It's our ability to do those other things I shared earlier and our ability to make a repair. Repairs can be as simple as saying, I'm really sorry that I reacted in a very impatient way earlier. I'm sure that didn't feel good to you. I was feeling really overwhelmed in that moment, and I'm going to do better in the future to communicate that and also to hold space for you when you want me to and are asking me to. So it could be something like that. When you're making a simple repair, I want to encourage you to not use the word but. So for example, I am so sorry that I did this thing, but I was feeling really overwhelmed. But you were talking to me when I was trying to put the groceries away and I got that work text at the same time. Don't use the word but, because it takes away from the other person's acknowledgement. So when you're making a repair, really just allow it to be about seeing that other person and owning your responsibility and moving through a conscious reconnection, because the ultimate goal is that you want to feel connected, you want to feel loved, and you want to acknowledge your growth areas together. Complex repairs are going to be things that take longer to recover from, that take more time to develop trust again, or safety again, or feelings of like love and acceptance around again. So if you're working through a more complex repair, just know that I'm loving you through that process and that it takes the time that it takes and that you're not alone in that. Other people are walking through it as well. So these three areas, our realness, our regulation, and our repair, are three massive keys that we can apply to our relationships to make them even better, so that we can feel more love, we can give more love, we can have deepening and growth in our relationships and closeness to others. I want to close our time together, first off, by thanking you. Thank you for spending this time with me. It is such a joy to be with you in this way. And then I also want to tell you about something that I have coming up. I am sharing a 5-week mini yoga series, and it is called Flow State. I'm going to show you a super quick graphic about it. Flow State is basically 5 30-minute gentle vinyasa meetings. So we're going to meet on Wednesday mornings from 8 to 8:30 a.m., March 13th through April 10th. This is for you if you are ready to just get on your mat and move and do some work to show up for yourself. I know that you want to practice yoga. I know that you feel better when you practice yoga. And I also know that you're busy. It's really hard to figure out when to get over to the studio, or if you have some time and you go on YouTube, for example, and you're looking for a yoga practice, decision fatigue and overwhelm are all too real. So this Flow State class series makes that all simple. Just roll out your mat, meet me on Wednesday mornings or via recording, and we'll do a sweet and spicy vinyasa flow together that really gets you back into the flow of connecting with yourself. All the details are on my website, but you're also going to be emailed a link to it later. I look forward to connecting with you again soon. Big heart hugs, and I'll see you later.